Hey everyone! So in today's video, I have this palette right here that I would like to play with. It is one of the eyeshadow palettes that Lisa Eldridge has come out with, and I picked up the Vega palette. Here it is in all of its glory. I have not yet put this on my eyes. I wanted to do a first impressions with you all. I have, however, swatched them last night and I was pretty blown away by the swatches and the textures. So I'm excited to discover this palette with you guys today. First of all, look at this beautiful packaging. It feels incredibly beautiful vintage. Obviously a lot of her packaging is in that realm. I love that the one side does have these horizontal lines and then the other one's smooth. I think it just adds this layer of dimension to the palette. And here it is. The Vega palette. I mean, that is a beautiful, beautiful cool toned palette. And I'm glad that I have picked this up to play. I was initially going to pick up the Rock Chick palette from Charlotte Tilbury, but this is a very similar color story. If I'm not impressed with this, I might still pick up that one, but you know, I have very, very high hopes for this one. First of all, let's talk about all 6 shades in here. We have French Gray, which is a velvet. We have Smoke and Mirrors, which is a seamless matte. We have Moon Swirl, which is a metallic. We have Turbulence, which is a seamless matte. We have Supernova, which is a luminous shade, as well as Lamp Black, which is a seamless matte. Let me tell you the 2 shades that I am the most excited about. First is this shade French Gray, and this is the Velvet formula. When I swatched this last night, I was blown away, you guys. It looks like nothing in the pan, but it is one of the most creamy shadows that I have ever put my finger into. I can't wait to see how it translates on the eyes. It truly does look like a cream on the skin. You guys know how I feel about creams, so I'm just really excited to see how that actually translates once it's on the eyes. And also this shade Supernova, which is incredibly wet looking, at least within the swatches. And by the way, I don't have any blush or lip on because I'm going to use this palette to kind of create the rest of the look that I have going on. I think we should first start off with French Gray. It is the Velvet formula that I am so excited to try. By the way, I didn't mention this before. I think that these palettes could be heavier personally, but I'm not, but honestly, I'm not too worried about it. I think a little more heftiness would be nice. I almost feel like a finger is going to apply this better than a brush, but I just have to, figure it out for myself. I'm first going to take a brush and just kind of pat out these creases. I removed a little bit of the concealer there. Okay, again, taking this shade French Gray. I think this formula just needs a more dense brush. We'll see how this one from BK does. This is the A504 brush. I still want, a bit of defining for sure, but, we'll see. And just taking that up, kind of just starting to create a bit of a shape. This is a very interesting texture. It doesn't have, an overwhelming amount of pigment right off the bat, but it does, do a nice job of just having that little bit of an emollient look. But you know what I'm realizing? I think the shade that I was actually thinking this was this shade right here. So I think I got those mixed up. This is the shade Turbulence. So I'm gonna use that one next. First, let's go back into French Gray. Okay, I feel really good about just kind of the overall shape that I got out of that color, but I wanna go ahead into Turbulence now. And I'm going to use a little bit of a denser brush for this and kind of get some definition out here on the outer corner. Now just taking some of that same shade. Just taking it, you know, a little bit more than halfway across the lid. And I might just use my finger and see if I can build it up even more. I was really expecting this to be darker, but it's not. And honestly, I like it even more when I apply this with a finger, but it could be that I just haven't played with these textures before and, you know, I still have to get used to them, but oh my God, is that a gorgeous shadow? To me, that shade just has something different to it. So again, that is the Seamless Matte formula. I'm interested in seeing how Smoke and Mirrors, which is right here, how that performs in comparison to this shade, which is the shade Turbulence. Right now, my favorite out of the two formulas I have tried so far is the Seamless Matte formula. That is like the creamy texture that I was talking about earlier. I think the Velvet one is pretty, but I think that right now I'm super impressed with the matte formula. Just, you know, again, just giving you guys an idea where my first impressions are at. The shade Smoke and Mirrors is kind of like a charcoal color, and then we have the shade Lamp Black as well. I think for now I'm gonna go in with the charcoal gray and then possibly add a little bit of that black. But I think I just want to kind of ease my way into deepening up this look. What's really crazy to me is just in the pan, the minute that you touch them, they look like cream. Like there's a creme texture to them that is very interesting. What a very super unique formula. I'm kind of finding it difficult to speak about it, honestly. All I can say right now is that I haven't used another matte formula like this. The mattes feel both very creamy on the finger, but also still relatively thin. It's not one of those eyeshadow palettes that has a lot of kickback either. They're quite densely pressed in here, at least that's my first impression. I want to see which one. I'm not sure which one of these shimmery shades I want to put all over the eye. I'm leaning most towards Supernova, which is right here, but I also have this other gorgeous shade, which is Moon Swirl, right up here. Moon Swirl as a one and done, I mean, forget about it. It's like a one and done perfect metallic color, but I think to add like a true luminous glassy look, Supernova might be the way to go. I think, you know what, let's just try both, see what happens. Okay, I'm gonna take Moon Swirl with my finger onto the lid, not all the way into the inner corner though. It's very pretty. The formula of this metallic is really pretty too because it's, I don't know, there's just something very refined about it. There's just kind of a level of restraint that I'm noticing with these shadows. I'm just gonna blend that out a little bit. Blend out some of these edges too while we're at it. I am seeing a touch of fallout right here that I didn't notice before. And let's go ahead and with Supernova. And look at the way the pan looks once I've pressed my finger into it. It like goes pretty wet and glossy. I mean, come on. Come on! That shade is ridiculous. That shade is epic. I mean, it adds incredible glassiness to this entire look. Yeah, I can't, kind of speechless right now. But let's go ahead into this shade Lampshade. Let's add a bit of some smoke to this look. Just right on kind of the upper lid a little bit into the lash line. It's a very kind of easy to work with black. And I think that I'm going to go ahead and dip right back into Turbulence and kind of add a touch of warmth. And then I'm also going to take a bit of Turbulence on the lower lash line too. And just a little tiny bit of Smoke and Mirrors. Okay, I think that it is time for some mascara and just a touch of liner, and I'll be right back. Okay, so mascara, liner's on. I added a little bit of the Buxom Dolly blush. By the way, just a side note, this blush is absolutely beautiful, and it's one of my favorite powder formulas that looks really beautiful, seamless on the cheeks, and lasts really, really well. But now I'm going to go ahead and take Wherever Walnut from Makeup Forever, and then I'm going to use the gloss Muse from Lisa Eldridge right on top. Okay guys, and this is the completed look. Right now, I am very impressed by this formula. This is, again, $68 for 6 shades, or you can also get shade refills, which I really like that you're able to get refills because, you know, there are some shades that you might go through faster than others. And I also like that there's the opportunity, if you're interested in just like a few shades, you don't have to pick up the entire palette if you don't want to. Really wanted to pick up Sorcery. Now it's finally back in stock, but I do feel like I might like the Sorcery color story even more than this one. I do love pretty much all of the shades, except, you know, if I'm being honest, and this is just like a total personal preference thing, I don't know how often I'm going to use the charcoal and black shade. Now, I do see myself pulling this out when I need a black shadow because Lamp Black is really, I mean, it blends so beautifully. Supernova and Turbulence are absolutely stunning shades. Those two for me are the standout. So right now the Luminous and the Seamless Matte formula have me really excited, but the metallic formula is beautiful too. I mean, if you want a very refined metallic, Moon Swirl is that shade. I'm personally excited to play around and do another look that leaves out the charcoal and the black and focuses more on that shade, Moon Swirl, because I feel like that shade as a one and done would be absolutely stunning, but I'm really interested in pairing it with Turbulence and then a little bit of Supernova right on the middle of the eye, and I feel like that is going to give me a very approachable everyday look. These formulas are incredibly densely pressed, very thin, and they have this, you know, this elegant creaminess to them that I think is very unique. You don't often see a very densely pressed eyeshadow that also has kind of a richness to it. Usually there's like a lot of kickback that happens with a very creamy, very pigmented shadow. And these actually, you know, I don't think that they're overly pigmented. I think the pigmentation is more in like the medium range. I can see some people that are used to super pigmented eyeshadows kind of being underwhelmed by the pigmentation of these. But I think that the texture and the pigmentation combined, it just feels very Lisa to me, because I think that she really sees the beauty in texture and subtlety. That being said, a shade like French Gray, personally, I think could use more pigment. It's just a little bit too subtle for me. But then there are these other mattes that I talked about, like Lamp Black, that have exactly the pigmentation that I think makes for that beautiful balance. I'm very, very happy with it. I am very glad that I picked this up instead of the Rock Chick palette from Charlotte Tilbury as well, because this Supernova shadow is one of the best wet looking eyeshadows I've ever used. I'm very interested now in some of the other shades and some of the other palettes. This palette has really piqued my curiosity, and now it makes me even more interested in the Sorcery palette because that's the palette that I originally wanted. I mean, you guys know how much I love green. I feel like Sorcery is really going to do it for me. But I hope you guys enjoyed this first impression. I'm so excited to keep using this palette. If you guys want more looks with this, if you want to see another video if I pick up the Sorcery palette, I mean, you guys let me know. I would love to keep playing around. And thank you guys as always so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one.